Hi, I'm Shaul. A viewer of this channel left the following request in the comment section. I stopped using cameras in 1998, but I'd like to get a Nikon Zf and some manual lenses to rekindle that passion. Would it be possible for you to make a video about manual lenses with a Nikon Zf, including tips, settings and more? Thank you very much. Well, I will try to rise to this challenge, partly because I came from the same background, and partly because I don't consider myself a very good teacher. That will allow me to get some training in teaching. Before we start, a few disclaimers. Number one, while the question was specific to the Nikon Zf, the contents of this video can be applied to any mirrorless system camera. Disclaimer number two, what I'm going to say represents my own perspective, my own experience. I've been an amateur photographer, doing mainly documentary photography of people in their environments. Please remember that. Your mileage may vary. You may find what I'm saying here controversial or unfitting to your own style of photography and experience. Number three, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not promoting any specific product. While I will mention during this video a few accessories, a few products, there will be no affiliate links. Most of these accessories have alternatives on the market, and I trust you to do your own research. Disclaimer number four, I'm expecting a nice cup of coffee for what I'm doing here. Wink wink. Not just an espresso, but a nice cup of Irish coffee, complete with whiskey and double cream. Disclaimer number five, this is a long video. I am not going to include in it settings that are specific to the Nikon Zf and that pertain to manual lenses. If you want me to make a separate video covering all these issues, please leave me a comment and I will do it. Modern mirrorless cameras make extraordinary platforms for enjoying manual lenses, especially old vintage ones. They offer a combination of very easy and flexible exposure with convenient aids for manual focusing. I would argue that using a modern mirrorless camera is even more fitting than using a manual camera. Those lenses were designed to be mounted on. I would strongly recommend choosing a camera with a full frame 35mm sensor for that. That will make sure that the whole field those lenses were designed to cover is indeed represented in the final photograph. While cropping some of those lenses will make the images sharper, because the image only uses the central, better part of the projected circle. Using a full-frame camera will bring into life all the character, all the quirks of those lenses, and create images that look special, that have a nostalgic, perhaps, aesthetic. Older lenses have, in general, simpler designs than new autofocusing lenses that are designed with resolution in mind. Those lenses are perhaps a little bit softer, but they are also more dimensional. They are more true to life and are more suitable for taking photos of organic, living things. The Nikon Zf is often blamed for being an ergonomic nightmare. It is designed like an old film SLR without a comfortable grip on the right-hand side. And I tend to agree. But if you hold it the way it is supposed to be held, with two hands, with your left hand supporting the lens, it will become a much more pleasant experience. It will remove strain from your right hand trying to grip the side of the camera. And it will make the holding a lot more solid, a lot more stable. That will help you avoid camera shake. Now, if you mount a manual lens on the Nikon ZF, you will have no choice but to hold it with two hands. The left hand that is in charge of focusing the lens will also give you that needed support. A lot has happened in the past 30 years or so, technology-wise, in the photography world. In 1998, film photography was at its peak. Bridging the gap between the cameras available at the end of the last century and the state-of-the-art of digital photography available to consumers now will involve a significant learning curve. It is a good idea to start with the fundamentals. Basically, not much has changed. The creative process of making a photograph is still the same. It consists of three stages: feeling, seeing, and exposing. So basically there are three questions to answer before making a photograph of any type. Why, what, and how. The why and what questions have not changed much. They depend solely on the photographer, on the creator of the photograph. The how question has seemingly changed a lot. Many more options and technologies are available today. But there are only two aspects of exposure that are really important, that cannot be easily manipulated after the exposure. Those are how bright the image will be and what will be sharp in the image. Those two aspects had to be decided on in the film days, and they still have to be decided on today. To address those two aspects of the photographs, those two characteristics, we have only three settings that are to be determined: shutter speed, aperture, and focal distance. The combination of shutter speed and aperture will determine how bright the image will look. Of course, it depends on the amount or the intensity of available light, but the interaction between those two parameters will have an effect on how bright the image will be. The combination of all three parameters will determine what will be sharp in the photograph. Focal distance will determine what will be the precise distance at which sharpness will peak. Shutter speed will determine how sharpness responds to motion in the scene or to camera shake. And lastly, aperture will determine how abrupt the loss of focus will be vis-a-vis that optimal focal distance. The depth of field, or the range of distances from the camera that is going to be acceptably sharp, depends on the physical aperture or the physical size of the hole inside the lens. If we look a little bit closer, a physical aperture of 5 millimeter or less, like this, means that most of the image will be acceptably sharp, most of the distance range in the scene. A physical aperture of 30 millimeter or more means that only a thin range of distances will appear sharp around the focal distance. And a lot of the scene will be extremely blurred to the point that objects are not really recognizable. This is an important aspect of lenses that has to be remembered as we will use it when we talk about focusing manual lenses. The physical aperture of a lens is computed by dividing the focal length into the f number. The rest of the image's characteristics like contrast, color, grain can be modified after the fact in post-processing. So I am not going to discuss them here because it will be overwhelming. Don't want to make this video too long. It will be long enough as it is. Let us start with exposure. In film, we have a fixed sensitivity of the film to light. So there is only a small number of combinations of shutter speed and aperture that can accommodate for the available light. In digital, sensitivity of the medium, the recording medium to light is much more flexible. It is not really flexible, but practically we can adjust the amplification of the signal. So we can increase or decrease the imaging sensor's gain. The gain we select, or the ISO value, has a marginal effect on the appearance of the photograph. So in practice, we can set the desired shutter speed and aperture in order to control the distribution of sharpness in the photograph the way we want, and still get a brightness that is acceptable, that is not really affected by the available light. When choosing the exposure mode, I would recommend using a manual exposure where the photographer controls both shutter speed and aperture, but the ISO is set automatically by the camera, because the exact ISO value, the exact amplification has a marginal effect on the result. We can ignore that effect. In mirrorless camera, where the display, either on the back LCD or in the viewfinder, reflects the final image, including brightness, it is very intuitive and easy to set the exposure. You see what you are going to get, so it is very easy to override it. Metering mode do not matter anymore. You can set whichever you want and override the metering of the camera by simply applying some exposure compensation in order to make the image a little bit brighter or a little bit darker. The Nikon Zf is a very accommodating camera for setting exposure. It has a dedicated exposure compensation dial that is always available. So all you have to do is look through the viewfinder and set the exposure compensation to your liking, to your intent. Setting the shutter speed on the Nikon Zf in manual exposure mode is very intuitive too. There is a dedicated dial on the top plate of the camera, just like the dials on film SLRs. Setting the aperture with a manual lens is also very easy. All manual lenses have aperture rings. You simply choose the right setting and the camera will respect the value you set. In fact, it doesn't have a way to control the aperture on the lens in those types of lenses, because there is no communication between the camera and the lens. Setting the required ISO is also simple. You have a dedicated ISO dial on top of the camera. However, if you want to leave ISO at automatic mode, the way I recommend, you simply turn that dial to the C position and just leave it there. This is all there is to know about exposure with Nikon Zf. It is really very easy and intuitive. Basically, all you have to do is look through the viewfinder and adjust the exposure compensation. Now, when we are over and done with exposure, let us discuss focusing. You are probably familiar with the split prism screen in the viewfinder of a lot of film cameras, film SLRs. Unfortunately, that very easy to use, intuitive focus aid is no longer available in mirrorless cameras because it requires a parallel light pathway in the camera, which mirrorless camera that are devoid of a mirror do not have. The focusing aids of mirrorless cameras are located on the imaging sensor itself. When talking about focusing, there is a trade-off between accuracy and speed. The fastest, most convenient ways to focus a lens are unfortunately not very accurate. And the most accurate focusing aids are unfortunately not very fast, especially not very seamless. So let us look at the different options we have. The fastest way to focus a lens is actually to use those distance markings on the lens itself next to the focusing ring. Setting the distance this way by evaluating the distance between the camera and the subject is the fastest way to focus. It's even faster than autofocusing in many cases. But it is not the best way to do it when you are wide open, especially not with longer lenses, as your estimation will have to be quite accurate. the distance scale on the lens is not very detailed. Even if it was, it's not easy to accurately estimate distances. The skill of manually focusing this way comes with practice. But even after decades of using manual lenses, I cannot accurately focus this way with a physical aperture larger than about 15 millimeters or so. So on a 55 millimeter lens like this, I would have to stop down the aperture to around f4 to be able to do it. By the way, this way of focusing using only the distance scale is called zone focusing. I will refer to it by this name. The Nikon Zf offers us a feature called focus peaking. The sharp or contrasty parts of the scene are highlighted by a color of your choice as you focus. And that offers us with focus confirmation, especially when we use zone focusing. Now, this works all the time. Whatever lens you use, whatever adapter you use, it is always available. And it is quite useful to confirm zone focusing. It actually enables us to open the aperture a little bit and still achieve acceptable focus for any distance. I would say that in combination with zone focusing, focus peaking would allow us to get good sharpness where we want it in the frame, up to around a physical aperture of 20 millimeters or so. So I would still have to stop this lens down to around f2.5. Apertures larger than this would be only accurate sometimes. It also depends on the contrast of the lens and on the contrast of the light in the scene. Focus peaking in the ZF has 3 sensitivity settings. At the highest sensitivity, it is just as useful as zone focusing. But if you turn the sensitivity down, only surfaces or borders that are in very good sharpness will be highlighted. And luckily, peaking works well with reflective surfaces, like human eyes. So it is highly useful for portraits, for example. If you work with longer lenses or with wider aperture, or in short, with a larger physical aperture, something larger than 20 millimeters or so, you have no choice but to use magnification. By clicking the plus button on the back of the camera, the view in the viewfinder or on the back LCD is enlarged, and you can carefully select or rotate the focus ring until it reaches peak focus. It can be also combined with focus peaking, which greatly improves the speed of focusing by magnification. However, doing that, you lose sight of the entire frame of your composition, and it is quite distracting. The process of magnifying the view, focusing, and then getting out of the magnified mode is quite slow. It will certainly slow you down. It is more suitable to static scenes where there's no movement in the frame, and to situations where you can mount the camera on a tripod, so to avoid any movement. When critical focus is required, every slight change in the distance between the camera and the subject might have an effect on the required focusing distance, and the tolerance to movement would be quite small. Just like peaking, magnification is always available to you. Whatever lens you use, whatever adapter to use. And it works well in combination with peaking. It is really easy to critically focus the lens this way. A unique feature of the Nikon Zf is its work with subject detection. If the camera detects a subject in the frame, either a face, an eye, a vehicle, an animal, it will put the focus area above that spot. And as you magnify, the magnify area will match the focus area. So you do not have to center focus and recompose or select the exact position of the focusing area before you magnify. This might shorten the duration required for focusing by a little bit. You will still need to magnify the view in order to critically focus. The focusing methods and aids discussed so far, zone focusing, peaking, and magnification, will work with any adapter. Now, regarding adapters, an adapter is a simple thing. It's basically a ring with mounting points on both sides. On one side, it fits the Z mount or any mirrorless mount. On the other side, it has a locking and mounting point to the lens. And the thickness of this ring bridges the gap between the flange distance of the camera and the lens. SLR or rangefinder lenses are designed to work with a larger flange distance. Their focal plane is at a set distance from the back of the lens. The distance is a specification of each mount, of each camera system. For the Z mount, for example, the flange distance is 16 millimeters. It is the smallest flange distance of any camera system ever made. The typical flange distance of SLR lenses is 40 to 46 millimeters. Adapters have to be quite thick. For an adapter like this, Z mount to M42 screw mount, the thickness of the adapter has to be 30 millimeters or so. I would recommend buying an adapter from a reputable manufacturer. Adapters can have some tolerances, and you want to use an adapter made by a manufacturer that has minimal tolerances. So the lenses you mount on it can focus to infinity. That is especially important for zone focusing. You want the distance markings on the lens to be quite accurate. You also want mounting points to be quite snug, but not too tight. If the mounting points are too loose, it might allow dust to enter the system. One of the main problems of digital cameras is the entry of dust and debris into the camera. Imaging sensors tend to attract dust because they have an electric charge. And you will have to clean your sensor from time to time anyway. But it will become a real hassle if the mounting points are not snug enough. The next focusing aid of the Nikon Zf involved direct focus confirmation by the camera. That method requires a chipped adapter, an adapter fitted with electronic contacts on the side of the camera. This adapter has this set of contacts that allows for communication between the adapter and the camera. Now, those adapters are made for rangefinder lenses. So their lens side is fitted to the Leica M mount. Of course, the Leica M mount has a shorter flange distance than SLR systems. So you can stack another adapter to it. Like in this case, I have a Leica M to M42 screw mount adapter, and I can fit it on top of the Z mount to M mount adapter, and then screw my lens onto the second adapter. Using the focus confirmation method, when you turn the focusing ring on the lens, once your subject comes into focus, the outline of the focusing area in the EVF or on the back LCD will change color from red to green. This is suited for critical, very accurate focusing. You can use it instead of the magnification method. However, the conformation is extremely accurate, so even a slight change in distance will revert the color of the focus area, and you will lose conformation quite easily. So the conformation box doesn't really save you a lot of time, even though it is a lot more seamless than having to magnify the active focus area and then revert to full view. Cheap adapters are obviously not as cheap as those simple dumb rings. So the question is whether that focus conformation is worth it. That will depend on your preferred genre, on your usage of the camera. But for me, it is not really worth it. The time saved is really minimal, and the hassle of having to critically focus the lens is still there. So I would not invest in a cheap adapter just for having this conformation box. The final option for focusing manual lenses is what I call augmented manual focus. For that, you will need a motorized adapter, such as this one, the one I use, the Techart TZM-02. This adapter has 4 small motors, and it communicates with the camera's autofocus system, so it can drive the whole lens forward or backward to achieve critical focus. On the other side, it has like a M mount, so you can still stack another adapter on top of it, and it will give you a very primitive type of autofocus with any manual lens. This does not replace autofocus. It has only limited utility with moving subjects, and it is quite slow, quite clunky, quite jumpy. So it only augments the experience of manual focusing. It makes it faster, it makes it perhaps more intuitive, without losing any accuracy. Those motorized adapters are quite expensive. Currently, this adapter is on sale for around $360, which is a lot for an adapter. You can buy a simple dumb adapter for around 10% of that price. Is it worth it? Well, let me change the lens and I'll show you how it works. I am now shooting with an adapted Chinon 55mm f1.7 at f2.8. The lens is adapted to my Nikon Zf using a stack of 2 adapters, the motorized Techart TZM-02 and a simple M to M42 adapter. The lens is driven backwards and forwards by the adapter, and this process is controlled by the autofocusing system of the camera. Now, if I move, the adapter will drive the entire lens forward to try to keep my eye in focus. If I move backwards, it will drive the lens backwards towards the camera. And as you see, this process cannot really keep up if I move quickly. So it cannot really replace the ZF's native autofocusing. However, it does help with manual focus in single focus mode. As opposed to a simple chipped adapter, I think that the motorized versions are worth it, because they make the process of acquiring focus a lot easier, a lot more intuitive, and faster too. You don't have to use magnification to acquire critical focus. On the other hand, this process is much more accurate than zone focusing, with or without peaking. So this is the solution I would choose. Now, of course, there's the question which manual lenses to buy. Manual lenses can be rather inexpensive on the second-hand market. The lens I showed you before, the Chinon 55mm f1.7, is a 50-year-old lens. And it's not a lucrative thing. It's quite a pedestrian lens. It was a kit lens at the time. I bought it for around $25, I think. And it performs quite well as it performed when it was new, I suppose. On the other hand, you can invest in lenses made by Leica or Zeiss that are very expensive. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I would choose a mount, an SLR mount, that is long obsolete and that is not too attractive to cinematographers these days. A mount like the Konica AR, the Minolta A, or the Pentax K would be very suitable. I would start with a set of 2 or 3 prime lenses, a wide one, a normal one, and maybe a lens with a longer focal length that will cover my needs for portraits. A set of 3 lenses, a 28, a 50 and a 135, will probably cost you less than $200. Those lenses will be very enjoyable. Perhaps they won't be perfect in the modern sense. They won't resolve the whole sensor. Although the 24 megapixels of the Nikon Zf do not make unreasonable requirements on the optics. Anyway, lenses are made to be used, not to be tested or compared. So I would just start with a small set. If the results I obtain are not adequate, I might consider changing some of the lenses to other options that are available on the second-hand market. In any case, do not put too much effort into research. It will only make you indecisive. It will only make you pay more than is required for a set of basic prime lenses. Personally, knowing what I know now, I would start looking at the Konica system. The Konica's flange distance is a little bit shorter than other SLR mounts, and that makes the adapter a little bit thinner, which is convenient, especially with a camera such as the Zf. The optical quality coming out of Konica lenses is also very nice, especially later lenses that were introduced in the 1970s and 1980s. Beware of early lenses, such as the 57mm f1.4. That is not a very good lens. It is also radioactive. It includes thorium in the glass. So I wouldn't recommend it. However, lenses such as the 28mm f2.8, the 40mm f1.8 and the 50mm f1.7 are very good options. They would be as nice as any other lens made during those decades. You may also want to consider at least one autofocusing lens for the Nikon Zf. The lens often sold with it in kit, the 40mm f2, is quite a nice little optic. It's small, light, simply built, and it is very affordable. I think you can buy a new one for around $250. A lens such as this will help you with more dynamic scenes, with moving subjects that require predictive, continuous focusing. I think that will be all. It's quite a long video and it's quite exhaustive. Anyway, if you found it useful to you in any way, please consider buying me a coffee. It's a nice gesture between gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching, and see you again soon.